Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to have a conversation with Yaba. I'm super excited as she's going to share her story, her journey with us in Ghana and with entrepreneurship, and I cannot wait for you to hear all about it. Morning, Yaba. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. If you could start this conversation with a little bit of background about who you are, I would love that. So yeah.
Sure. So again, I'm Yaba and I'm a mother of two and a wife. And we have been in business now for some years. So let's say almost 2 decades. So we started off doing fitness. So my background is in exercise, fitness, personal training, and nutrition. All the way from university, I studied up to that point. And I was always determined to, work for myself. You start to learn about yourself a bit more when you're working for somebody. And I was like, I think I'll do well working for myself. I'm very self-driven, so I'm very self-accountable. So I thought, okay, I can do this. So after university, I worked in a gym. I started personal training. And then myself and my husband, let's say 3 years later, we started our own fitness business in England. Mm-hmm. So what we did, we had a personal training team. We run fitness classes, we did nutrition consultation, and we set it up as a business. We had a team working for us, an awesome team, and they were managing our clients while we managed some of our other clients as well. So that's where the entrepreneurship journey really started. And then we had made the decision that we wanted to move our small family back to Ghana. So myself and my husband are both Ghanaian. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, with entrepreneurship, you can't put your eggs in one basket. That is, we've all tried, well, not we've all, I've tried that and it's risky business. So when we moved to Ghana, we found that there was a demand for housing, where to live. And because we are diasporans, we've moved from the UK to Ghana. There are so many people like us who want to relocate. So we started a YouTube channel and we documented our journey. We're called Ghana Bound. We just said, this is our journey. Our family's going to move to Ghana and this is what our experience is. Mm-hmm. We started getting quite a large following. We then started asking questions about buying land, properties, where do I send my kids to school, what areas are good, etc. So we said, okay, there's a need here, there's a demand, so let's apply. Yeah. So we've now, the YouTube channel has evolved into properties, lifestyle, and interviews of other people who've done the move, and people have found that really encouraging. So now we're doing both those businesses, quite different, but both very much enjoyable.
Yeah. I love that. And, just before we go more into details about your entrepreneurship journey and how it's been in Ghana, I'd like to take you back, which I do with all my lovely guests here, how it was growing up as a Ghanaian in the UK, because you are Ghanaian, you said your husband is Ghanaian too. How was that? Were you born in the UK? Were you just raised there? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So yes, I was born in the UK. And then I was partially raised in Germany. So at that point, I was about, let's say, age 2 to 6. And I could not speak English at all. I was purely speaking German. So that was interesting. Even at that age, we were very much aware that we stood out, of course, especially Germany back in the 1980s, in the early 90s. We faced a lot of discrimination, especially my parents. As for me as a child, I noticed it, but I didn't acknowledge it too much. And then as we grew a little bit older, myself and my sister, just me and my sister, we started making, several changes to ourselves. Like walking around, we'd pinch our lips to make them as small as possible. And we used to put pegs on our noses so that, they'd be narrow and small. And so that was Germany. And then when we went to the UK, we stood out even more because we couldn't speak English. But then we lived in the countryside where we were the only Black family. And we actually had quite a positive experience. My sister was the top in academics. I was the top in sports. So we were behaving positively. We got positivity back. So in that case, they encouraged us along our strengths. And we actually had a positive upbringing. We didn't experience bullying. I think it's also because we were quite confident as children,
Yeah.
but we didn't experience any bullying. And then from there, I went to study at university in London, because by then I was like, I need to be around people more like me and find out what other people's experiences are like. I need representation. It was like a hunger. So I went to London, which of course was the land of diversity. And that was interesting.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Yeah. I thought it would be positive, but that had positive and negatives, because what I found was Black Londoners would look at me and I would look like them, but then I'd start speaking. And I don't know what I sound like to you, I don't know. But to them, it sounded like I was trying to be a white person. So I'd be called coconut, brown on the outside, white on the inside. And I was so disappointed. I was shocked, to tears. It was like I came here to fit in. And once again, I don't fit in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the bit of background. Yeah.
I can totally relate. And, it's funny because you said I was born in Germany and I was raised in
Okay.
Belgium. So, and most of the people I speak to my age or, late 30s, if they are from the diaspora, they were raised here but not born here. Or if they came at an early age, they can kind of relate to that story of you don't know anything else. This is where you've always been. This is somehow home, but it's not. So as a child, you always know you don't fit in a way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you go around your people, you don't fit in there as well. So yeah, I can totally relate. And where were you in Germany?
Stuttgart.
Okay, yeah. I was born in Hamburg, but I didn't live there, at least not as a child as long. I was raised in Belgium all my life, but I could really relate to just being the only Black girl a lot growing up. And even as an adult, the only Black woman at work, the only Black woman, at an event. It's just, it's a different experience growing up, outside and being a minority. And I know that when I first moved to Ghana in 2013, it was like a breath of fresh air, like, oh my God, everybody looks like me. And I hadn't realized how much I missed that until I landed and I was like, oh my God, everybody's Black.
Yeah, like everybody. And how was that for you? Because again, with moving to Ghana, we fit in, but then we don't.
Yeah.
But that things are changing now. And I believe that there's another tribe of us who have, been outside and have come back. And maybe we don't speak the language. Maybe we haven't been immersed in the Ghana culture growing up because we've been outside, but we've decided to come back to Ghana. And the reasoning to come back is so strong that very often people are like-minded and very driven when they've come back, for their different reasons. How did you find it, like coming in, fitting in?
Yeah, I think a big part for me at first, I came and I had something to do. And I think I always tell people that are planning to move to Ghana, if you're coming there to live, have something to do, like have a job, because you're going to first run out of money if you don't, and also just be bored after a while because you'll be going with everybody, but not really having your own schedule. So luckily for me, when I moved to Ghana, I came there for work. My brother asked me to come and help him out. So I came to run a hospitality business. And so I think I arrived on maybe like a Friday or Thursday, and on Monday I was working.
Working.
Sooner. Completely. So my community were my clients and the people around me. At first, it was good and bad, but later I realized that I was making friends by default. Like it's just the people around me that were like my friends, and they didn't really, all of them didn't necessarily fit in the type of lifestyle that I wanted or personality that I had or things that I enjoyed. So I realized that I had to discover myself once again as an adult. I was telling someone else recently that as an adult, making friends is very difficult, especially when you move abroad. And when you're young and you've grown up and lived the same place all the time, your friends are by default those that you went to school with or family friends or whatever. But as an adult, you really need to choose and pick who your friends are going to be based on your lifestyle, your values, and so many things. So for me, it was very important to realize, okay, what are my values? What are the things that I enjoy? And that's how I started breaking out of that mold and realizing that I'm not your typical Ghanaian, and it's okay. I don't need to try and fit into a mold where I don't fit in. So I wasn't, I call myself Afropean and I'm a global citizen. So I made friends with people from Italy and Germany and French. I speak French. I went dancing Kizomba. I went all
Wow,
over the place to
that's
do wine
amazing.
tasting and, go to events and really blended in all the different communities and was completely okay with that. So back to you. How has it been, So you moved to Ghana, or maybe let's backtrack a little bit. This conversation is so juicy. I want to go fast, but at what point did you and or your husband decide that it was time to move to Ghana, or to leave UK? Because was the choice always Ghana or just leaving UK?
Right. So the choice was we both like to travel. We've always known we are likely to not end up in the UK. So it then evolved from there. When we went on a trip to Ghana in 2012, we were just dating, me and my husband at that point. So we went on pretty much separate trips with our families. And myself, my sister, and my mum, we went on a tour around Ghana. And before that trip, Ghana had always been, oh, back to Ghana, going to my grandma's house. Accra then, there was nothing to do apart from maybe have lunch in a hotel. That was the biggest deal. So that trip showed me so much of Ghana that I fell in love with, and also progress that had been happening. And that trip changed my perception of Ghana completely. And I said, I could live here. And it just so happened that we were dating at that time. He came to Ghana at that time. So we talked. And we said, it'd be great to retire in Ghana. Whatever happens between now and retirement, we could be anywhere in the world. So now moving forward to having our children. So our first child, he's a boy. So we were living in the countryside still. Our fitness business was running there successfully. We had no intention of leaving that business. But with a child in the countryside, we didn't want him experiencing the things we'd experienced in terms of racism, being held back, being targeted, stopped by the police, etc. So we said, okay, so where in the UK is a little bit more diverse for him to grow up. So we looked at certain areas and they just weren't ticking the boxes. And in the end, we said, you know what, why not send us our child? We'll send him by himself people do that to stay with auntie or uncle. And we considered that thought for like 3 seconds. We were like, no, we can't give our precious child like that. So we'll all have to go. So we decided at that point, let's move to Ghana. It was actually quite a spiritual decision. It was something very strong pushing us and pulling us, let's say, back home.
Yeah.
So we went with that, and that was the deciding factor. We said, we're going.
Lovely. And between deciding you're going and actually going, how long did that process take?
Girl, it wasn't about process. It was about COVID. COVID happened 2 weeks after that decision had been made. So we're like, la la la, in February, maybe, we should move to Ghana. We'll plan it over 2 years. COVID happened. We all got locked down. And that like put a fire under that plan. We were like, we're doing this because, certain characteristics started to come out in the UK. We were like, ooh, discrimination is bubbling. And then George Floyd happened. So much happened in that time to finalize our plans. So from making that decision to the end of the lockdown, the 1 year end of that lockdown, we had planned the move. So we actually moved 6 months before we were supposed to move, because my mental health took a dive like that. I'm a positive person. I'm like this usually. I was not in a good place, and I know a lot of people weren't, by the end of lockdown. So my husband said, this is not healthy for you. You and the kids make a head start and go. And then he joined us shortly after.
Amazing. Yeah. And how has it been for you since you moved? Because you were saying, you've come on holidays, and then 2012 was like the click, like, okay, I could see myself living here, blah, blah, blah. But there's a big difference between going on holiday to Ghana or visiting and just living there. I don't have much experience in that because I literally came once and then moved after 6 weeks. So it's not like I could compare. So, but I know that for a lot of people, it's like, oh, we come to December to party. And then it's like, oh my God, you live here. It's expensive.
Exactly, exactly. So living here has been, I would say, let me start with my inner peace because that was the healing that happened. So, like I said, my mental health took a dive. It soon came up and up and up. I believe it's the sunshine,
Mm.
it's being around people who are like me. So, a lot of pressures that I didn't realize were there before had just been lifted. It was like I didn't have to try as hard or extra hard, if that makes sense. I
Completely.
could just be myself. So the mental health side, straight back up again. The physical challenges were many. I think moving anywhere different, you're going to find that. For me, it was about, settling the children. I wasn't too focused on making friends at that point because I knew that, through meeting people, eventually something would come up. But we have family here, so they took a lot of care of us. They took care of us a lot. So my English is going. When you said German, like my German brain started to switch on again. So it's good. So for me, it was physically challenging. There was a lot to adapt to, especially with where to buy food in my new locality. The children don't like this or that food, so I've got to find the local, the previous European foods. It was little things like that. Ghana has light out,
Mm.
so and I'm used to that when I used to come to my grandma's house, but now I'm living it. So I'll be in a meeting like I am with you, praying that the lights don't go out. And so things like that I've adjusted to. But with every challenge, I promise you, I have just had another layer of skin added on, another layer of skin. And my grandma said, I'm more Ghanaian than her now. I'm just driving everywhere, the way I relate with people and make my relationships. It's because I've had to learn the hard way. So I'm really grateful that I got the opportunity to do that. Yeah.
I can totally relate. The weight lifted off your shoulders. You said you don't have to try as much. And the thing is, for me, was like I didn't even know I was struggling as much as I was till I came to a place where I wasn't. And I was like, oh my God, like
Oh,
I feel lighter. Like I'm floating. Like I was just happier for no reason. The weather, just the people. Yeah, so I can totally relate. And to the challenges part, you have to be thrown into the deep end, kind of. I feel like Ghana has to be experienced in a, like, like they teach babies how to swim, just throw them in and just see.
yes,
That's how it
I
should be.
agree.
If you're held with gloves and, oh my God, but she's new, blah, 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 you'll struggle so much or you'll go back. You'll either drown, so you need to just be thrown in, drown, or just float back up and say, you know what, we'll make this work. And that's
Yeah.
what I did. Like I started working immediately. I had to drive. My brother was like, I don't have time to drive you places. I have to work. You have to work. There's a car. Figure it out.
Wow.
And I was like,
Scary.
but I need to go to Circle.
You drove to Circle.
That was
Oh
my
my.
first experience driving Ghana. I was
Are
like, okay,
you
if I can do this,
serious?
if I can do this, I can do anything.
You can do literally anything in your life. Anything in your life, you can achieve
I
it if you can
literally
drive a
drove
circle.
I drove with my Google Maps on, and they're like, "You're driving with Google Maps?" I'm like, "Yes, I
Yes,
can
all
do
the
this."
time.
In 2013 to Circle. It was
Oh
fun.
my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
That's insane.
but really, really loved it so far. So now you're here. You're a bit more settled. COVID is over slash not over. How has it been? Bringing down your business because your husband has joined you now. How have things been going for all of you?
Sure. So initially, when we came, we still had the fitness business running, and then the physical business of it, it was in a golf club. They closed our side of things down. So we're in the middle, we're in Ghana, we've made the move, and they've said, yes, basically the income will drop from that side. Completely shocked, which is why I said for those listening, no eggs in one basket, please. So that's the opportunity that was given to us with the real estate, the lands, and the properties. That's when we also made that decision. So we dived in head first, and now that's we're balancing both businesses. So we've taken the fitness business online. You have to be adaptable.
Yeah.
Again, it has to maneuver somehow. So we've taken the fitness business online where we have clients, And then we're having the real estate side established now. So it's been learning for me. So, you know, every day I'm learning a new industry, and I'm learning it in a new country with a whole new system of how things are working. And I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it. It's really rewarding. It's made me like, it's forced me to travel around Ghana where I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't necessarily have traveled. And I've gotten to meet so many people like us, you know, who've done the move and who want to find a home here in Ghana or settle or invest. And I'm able to support them in doing that now.
Amazing. And I wanted to know about, you know, because now you moved the fitness business online. Would you say that most of your clients are from outside, so your past clients and the way you were looking for clients before, has that changed, or do you have like local clients? How does that work? How's your business changed since you moved?
Yes. Yeah. So we've considered bringing it local, but for now, we're keeping it just online.
Mm-hmm.
So previous clients have joined us and or have stayed with us, shall I say. So I'm basically catering to them now. And then they've made recommendations to their family members, and then the family members have joined me. So it's been more on a referral basis, because one thing we knew was learning a new industry is going to take up a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you know, I'm out the house all the time. So trying to go back to the same amount of clients in the fitness world while I'm trying to establish the new real estate world is not realistic.
Yeah.
So we've maintained a certain amount, started a waiting list with the fitness, and then establishing the real estate.
Amazing, amazing. I really love that. And you know, as a working mom, how, you know, how do you feel that Ghana has helped you to grow your business? Or, you know, do you find it harder being in Ghana and being a mother, managing all of that, or in the UK? How has that changed for you?
That's an easy one. Okay. So in the UK, I'm cooking, cleaning, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. Cooking, cleaning, school run, managing the businesses, trying to maintain some kind of sense of being about myself.
Yeah.
It was manic. It was so, my lifestyle was so manic. I was here, there, and everywhere in the UK. I moved to Ghana, and Ghana, for those who haven't been, it's very normal to have people helping you in the house. So someone you pay to come and help you, whether it's someone just to cook or do the general housework with you, whatever it is, it's very normal. So as soon as I came, a family friend came to work for me, and I was like, oh my God, why didn't I do this before? Because my hands were off the necessities, like having to, you know, cook, clean, iron the kids' clothes, and I could work. I could literally focus on the business and the children and the family life without, you know, being cluttered down with everything else. So that meant that my life changed completely, and I was freed up to, yeah, to build a business.
When I was in Ghana, I was thinking, wow, the mothers here, they have so much time. They look so refreshed and so happy. And I'm like, I don't know how they do it, but I look like a mess all the time here. But then it's because that extra help. Like,
Yeah.
I'm lucky to have my mom here helping me because she's here with us in Belgium. But, you know, the help that you get in Ghana for every little thing that you need, it's like it frees up your hands so much. You get to focus on the things you need to focus on. And I feel like
So
be a
true.
better mom and be a better wife, be a better person.
Yes. Yes, you're absolutely right. And at first, I felt like guilty. So she would start cleaning, but I was cleaning before she got there. She was like, "That's my job. You go do that." And I was like sitting there, like I should be doing something. I should be busy. I should be stressed. But in the end, I've learned that actually that's enabled me to be better in the other areas, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So having help at home has been one factor, a major factor,
Mm-hmm.
actually. And then having family around as well. So there've been times where, let's say, me and my husband want to go away together and spend time, just us two, no children. You know, we've been able to leave them with my grandma, with my husband's, my mother-in-law, with aunties, you know, who we trust. And it's enabled us to spend time together. And also, if we have a business trip or something to do for work, we can both be away,
Yeah.
rather than one is always with the children while the other one gets to have 5 minutes to themselves. We both were able to, you know, do that.
Amazing. How has it been for your kids? Because you said as a child you were very much aware of your, your difference, like you didn't fit in, all of that. How old are your kids, both of them?
So now they are 4 and 6.
Oh, like my kids.
The same sort of gap. Yes, I've got so 4 years old and 6 years old. Yeah.
Okay. And wow, my throat, sorry. So how do they experience Ghana? Do you feel like they're aware of the change? How has it been for them?
That's a really good question. You're actually the first person to ask us that about the change. And my son was 4 years old when we moved to Ghana. So he was still at that age where he wasn't aware that him and his friends were different. He didn't know. And because he was young, we didn't have to have the talk with him, at some point you'll stand out, etc. We didn't have any kind of discussion about differences. So now that he's matured a bit more, his friends all look like him. So my mother is married to a wonderful man. He's white English, and they just know him as Pops. They don't distinguish the difference between the colors, so I can tell they're not yet aware as much. My daughter was 2 when we moved, so Ghana's just normal for her.
Yeah.
Everyone around her looks like her. All her friends have the same little hairstyles, cornrows. No one's touching my daughter's hair like, it's different, special. She just looks like everybody else. And my children are very confident. Like, they are naturally in themselves like that, but even more so because they're able to just be themselves without me saying, don't behave like that because you're going to stand out. And then you're the black child in the class, misbehaving or something, like our parents put a little bit extra pressure on us because we're the only ones. So we can't start acting and looking crazy. So yeah, that's been good. It means that our kids have been able to thrive.
I love that. My kids, I came to Ghana with them the first time, was it last year? Yeah, last year. My daughter is 4 and my son is 6 now, but they were, I think,
Same. Yeah.
3 and 5 then when we came. But my son said to me, and I was really surprised in Ghana, he's like, oh my God, everybody's black here like us, and they speak like us. And I was like, oh my God, he noticed that. And his confidence, my son is very calm and quiet and a bit reserved. His confidence just changed. We came back to school. So we were in Ghana for 6 weeks. When we came back to school, the teachers told me, oh my God, Joshua has changed so much. He's so much more confident. And I was like, yeah, you don't know why. But that's because he left. He left here to a place where he could be himself. And I think we think kids aren't aware, but they are. So probably he behaved differently knowing that he stood out. And maybe not in a bad way because they couldn't compare, but now that he was in a place where he didn't have to and where he fit in a way, he realized that, oh, wow. It's just, and he asked me, are white people allowed to come here? And I said, yes, they are. Just like you are allowed to be in Europe and Belgium and travel everywhere. And I thought that was a really interesting question from a 5-year-old.
It is a very interesting question.
So
you're right. They're aware more than we think.
They are. And it's been a wonderful experience for both of them. And they've been asking ever since, when are we going to Ghana? When are we going to Ghana? When are we going to Ghana? And we cannot wait to take them back for good. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we moved back to Ghana, we had a family countdown, 6 months to go, etc. And, we growing up, we were always told if you misbehave, you'll be sent back to Africa. I mean, a lot of people have had the same experience. So we flipped it and we were like, if you're good, you'll come to Ghana with us. Like we made them in a way where they were really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So their perception of Africa, Ghana is positive on the onset. So when their feet, when their feet touch the ground, they already had a positive, excited, outlook.
Exactly. And I love that you brought that up. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday about, it's all about the mindset, and it's on us Africans, parents, to give a positive, image about Africa. Nobody else is going to do it for us. they're not going to learn it in school. They're not going to learn it from, people here in the world. It's going to be about them. You as a parent have to teach them to be, happy with themselves, but also happy with who they are, their culture and everything. And I started homeschooling my kids this year, and I make it a job to, when we go to the library, if I can choose, I get a book by a colored person or a Black person, or
Yes.
teaching them about,
Yeah.
we have a book about Rosa Parks now, and it's a children's book. So I'm like, I'm going to explain to them what she did and why it matters and why it's important, and who, all the African countries and so on and so forth. So it's really, I love that you're saying, you said, oh, it's kind of a reward, and that's how I've been using it. And like, if you misbehave, you won't go with us to Ghana.
Yeah, basically, it's positive. And it's interesting you've said that about books, and our children's library, they've got a library literally for themselves, is filled with a mixture. But yes, we focused a lot on representative books about Ghana history, African history. And we sent them to a Saturday school with the Destination Africa group.
Yes.
And they are just amazing. First of all, they teach the children the language, but they teach them about African history, about mental health. They teach them about financial literacy,
leadership.
Things that,
yeah.
Yes, they teach them everything that you would want your child to know. Self-confidence. My son used to talk like this and really shy, not make eye contact, to the point where he stood up and shouted in the class, his presentation. And they built up so many children to a point of loving who they are, as an African first. So things like that have really helped the children to adapt in this environment. And also ourselves, joining groups like that have helped us.
Yeah, definitely. How would you say, because I spoke with a lady the other day, and she was saying making friends has become hard because people come and go. And you said when you initially arrived, it wasn't really focused on making friends because you knew it would come naturally. But how has it been now that you've been there a while, making friends for you with your husband, the kids, you send them to the Saturday school, but how has it been to connect with locals and diasporans?
Yeah. So you mentioned about mindset earlier. Everything starts with a mindset. And I'd already accepted, Yaba, you're going to move back, you're going to make new friends, become part of a new community and attract that to yourself. It's going to happen. And the difference is that I thought I would have more Ghanaian born and raised Ghanaian friends now that I'm coming back to Ghana. But what happened is there's been a little bit of a disconnect. Yeah. Sometimes it's a sense of humor thing. Those of us raised in Britain, we're very sarcastic. We have a certain sense of humor, and we don't quite get each other in that. And then also a perception of, some people sometimes think when they've been raised in Ghana, sometimes they perceive those of us coming back as snobbish or looking down on them, especially when we sound like this with the British accent, I'm finding. So how I broke down those walls was by humbling myself. One of the things that I used to be very nervous about is the language. Both my parents are born, raised Ghanaians who did not pass the language to their children. So I can only speak English. So I used to be nervous trying to bring the tree, the fancy. But now I've come and humbled myself and I said, even if they laugh, which they will, I will just bring what I have and learn the rest. Yeah. The people have been first they laugh at me, which is fine. And then they just are so willing to help me, in lots of areas, not just the language, but, oh my goodness, where do I get this for the kids? How do I get to here? How do I get to there? People then will be like, oh, she's not stuck up. She needs my help.
Yeah.
And they're more open to receive, me. Exactly. So that's been very good with, the, let's call it local Ghanaian who's been born, raised here.
Yeah.
With the other returnees or diasporans, it's been a lot easier. Like I said before, those of us who've moved back, there's something about our mentality to take yourself from the Western world, which is comfortable, it's organized, it's, it's got a train system that works beautifully. Why would you move to a developing country? Yeah. Something in us, whether it's spiritual or mental, we have a similarity, and that has drawn a lot of us together. Not everybody, but a lot. So like how we were talking before, we just automatically click because it's like, oh my gosh, that's so relatable.
Yeah.
That's a new tribe. That's a whole new village who don't necessarily fit, but we fit with each other. We get each other.
Yeah.
So I've been exposed to people like that a lot. There's a like a returnee, there's a networking event, there's so many events that happen. And also because I'm a content creator, I get to meet people, interview people, and through those I've made connections.
Exactly.
So really close friends of ours like Abena and Mike from Destination Africa, because we're content creators, but we have children, we're returnees, we have a certain mindset about returning back. We've managed to click like instantly. And other relationships have built like that, Crystal, who I know you know as well. So it's been amazing. Like, I don't think anyone should ever worry about making friends, because when you come, it's almost like, oh my gosh, I've got so many events I've been invited to. That's what people will experience too. So it shouldn't be something to stop someone coming, as long as you are prepared or open.
And I think especially now, I think when I moved 2012, 2013, there were people returning, but it was very much, testing the waters. There was a lot of movement, come and go, come and go, come and go. And I think at that age, I didn't have kids. So a lot of the people that moved were single. And so you could pack up and leave whenever, people, if you met someone, it didn't work out, people left. There was a lot of movement.
Right.
Making friends, your friendships didn't last, or you were still kind of looking for more similarities than just we returned, because you were so kind of, unattached in a way. So everybody kind of had to think. Now there's so many more families that have moved, and so you can connect to that. And the kids can play together. I think it grounds you as a person, because it makes you feel like, okay, we're not. It's here to stay a bit longer at least.
Such a good point. Yeah, it's very different coming as a singleton, I guess, compared to coming as a family unit who are coming to make this work. When you're single, you can decide if, I'll just go. Wow.
So, tell us a little bit more about the real estate side of the business, how you support people there. What kind of support do you give?
Yeah. So the real estate side is so much fun. A lot of people want to invest in Africa generally. They just want to, whether they want to move back or not, they know that something's happening on the continent now where it's a really good place to invest. The timing is right. So it means that questions are coming like, where shall I live in Accra, in Ghana as a whole? Also, decentralizing Accra is part of what we do. It's like, Ghana isn't just, Accra. You can have options because Accra is very populated. So when someone comes to us, whether it's through our website or our YouTube channel, we then do a free consultation with them. We talk about their needs, like, are you single? Have you got a family? What is it you're looking for? And what kind of life do you actually want to live in, here in Ghana? We help to manage budgets, because there's a expectation versus reality situation going on right now with developers here, people selling houses in Ghana, pricing properties a certain way, which diasporans or returnees are saying, this is crazy. Like, how can you charge this much for a property? So on both sides, we're advising the seller and we're advising the buyer that the market is going up, so prices will go up, but we're advising them saying, you've got to keep it like affordable at the same time, because you're going to cost everybody out. So that's part of the service that we do. We sell lands. We link people with lawyers to make sure they don't get caught out in litigation problems. We help to source offices, warehouses. It's basically marrying the person looking with the person selling, just marrying them together.
Yeah. So, and it goes beyond property, or it's really around, first the settling. So property and probably setting up maybe a business, like you said, warehouse and all of those things.
For now, no, not setting up businesses. It is purely about the property side.
Okay. Nice.
For now, you know what Ghana's like. There's opportunity all the time, but we really believe in having a strong foundation of a business and then building on from there.
And I think, with, as you said, many returnees, or many people returning in general, everybody's looking at opportunities, and then people are starting consultancy. I think a lot of different YouTubers have started the returning back home consultancy kind of services where they help with housing, with, finding schools and stuff like that. So I guess it's really about finding the person that you gel with, like that gets you. And I think, you and your husband do a great job of showing your personality and who you are. And I think that if people decide that they want to move and they want to go your route, they can really feel like, okay, are we gelling or not? Would they get us or not?
Thank you. Yeah. One thing I love about I say African, but also let's specify Ghanaian content creators in terms of those of us covering Ghana, is that it's like teamwork. So rather than looking at it as competition, it's like there are certain people that will gel better with this person or gel better with that person, or this person travels a lot. So they are the perfect person for them to go to talk about travel. Some are single, some have children. So it's almost like we're all a team. Anyone who's covering about Ghana and, making the return easier, we're a team. So you get to choose, from the team or multiple people who will help you return the best. Yeah. And one of the reasons we started our channels, because so many of those who had started their channels had done it and they supported us. They put a lot of amazing information out there, for us to be inspired by. And then there were certain areas that we were like, oh, this is missing. Maybe we can bring them that, like the before you return, what happens with shipping your items? How do you feel before you leave the country? Because none of them talked about, what it was like in the country before, and then how they moved
for work, getting your
get
kids
to that
out
point.
of school. Yeah,
exactly. So we were like, okay, let's start our journey from before. So just fill the gaps, and all together we can encourage those who are really serious about coming back to do so.
I love that. I love that. It's because, for instance, when we left and decided that, okay, we need to come back and re-strategize, Ghana can be really expensive, especially with kids. So it's like, okay, we need to think things through and see what kind of lifestyle we want. And homeschooling is part of the strategy for me. It was like, I'm going to take them out of school before we move so that it's not going to be a hard, like, oh my God, I'm missing my friends.
It's
They're
wise.
homeschooled now. So by the time we move, it would be normal.
Yeah, that's so wise. For anyone who's considering starting homeschooling in Ghana, I would recommend exactly what you've done. We don't homeschool, but we have just, decided at some point we want to. It's the transition that's the challenge. Whereas if it's already normal in your household beforehand, it's just the same thing here. Really wise thing to have done.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, your story and journey with us. I would love to hear about how people can find you, how they can get in touch with you if they want to, ask you questions about moving to Ghana or buying property or investing or just working out, being a healthier version of themselves. How can they, work with you?
Sure. So they can reach me on our website, which is www.ghanabound.com, or my email, which is yaba@ghanabound.com. And then any of those platforms, I can speak to them from them. One of the things about that is that we get in touch with you straight away. We're not some entity out there in space. We will get back to you guys. Yeah.
And definitely, check out the YouTube page. I will leave all the details in the description box here so people can check out your YouTube channel. Your Instagram handles are the same, I guess. It's with Ghana.
Yes, Ghana.bound for Instagram. Yes.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you too for having me. This has been so much fun. Actually, some of the questions you were asking, I've never been asked before. So it's really made me think. So thank you.
Nice. Thank you for coming. Have a lovely day. Thank you for watching, guys. And I'll see you next week. Bye. Hope you enjoyed watching this interview as much as I enjoyed recording this. If you like this video, make sure you press on the like button, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.